This video, I'll show you how to add some ink controls to your app. But first, let's carry over some of the controls on the main screen for the functionality. I'm going to cut the information from the label, pretty much everything else, including the gallery. Right now, they're a little bit hard to see. I'll move them over here. First thing I'll show you is we can have some things hidden on the side by selecting the things that we want to hide. In their visible property, this determines if you can see them or not. Right now it's true, bring it to false, and they'll become invisible. The icon for reloading, we're going to use a function called select. Select lets us click that button that already has our formula in it. So I'll select it using the select function. The button is called button split. So if I click that, it will run whatever formula is inside that button. Okay, so right now that button is actually allowing us to create this reading passage. Okay, and it's hidden off the screen, so I could call it from anywhere I want. Next, I will add an ink control on top of this. The ink control is easy to use. All you have to do is just click Insert. It's located under Text, though. Pen Input. I'll lay it over the gallery that has all the words. I could do this a few ways. I could manually drag the pen input control so it fits right over. Or I could use a relative positioning. I'll start with the X, Y, and the width and the height. The X property will be set to gallery. The name of the gallery of all these words is called gallery words. I use a dot to drill into the properties of the gallery of words, and then I put X, so it's the horizontal position of this gallery. The gallery Y is 0, but I can go ahead and use the same pattern of referencing an existing control's properties. This time I'm referencing the Y property, the location of this vertically. It just happens to be 0, which is already done here. The height can also be done the same way. Gallery words dot height, and the width, gallery words dot width. At the bottom of this ink control, you'll see that it has these controls for erasing, choosing the width of the pen and the color of the pen. If you wanted to hide those controls, you can change show controls from true to false and back. I don't want this ink icon to be on all the time, so if I click over here on the side, this icon that I had for the ink, I can change its on select property. So it creates a variable that shows and hides its thing. A variable is a piece of information that you store, that stores information like true or false. It could store a string of text. It could store a number in it. It's just virtual information that's used throughout the app. I'm going to create a variable called showInk, and it's going to be used to show and hide this ink control because I don't want this thing on top all the time. ShowInk is normally false. If I take the opposite of what it currently is, it makes this variable turn on and off. So if I click it once, it goes from false to true because not is going to take the opposite of what's inside. And if I click it again, it'll take it from true to false because false is the opposite of true. I could also use the exclamation point, in which case I don't need these extra parentheses around showInk. So this means set the variable showInk so that it's the opposite of what it currently is. Now I go into the visible property of this pen input. Right now it's true. If I set it to showInk, it will be based on whether I'm showing ink or not. If I click the pen icon, it shows the ink, and it hides it if I click it again. Let's be more apparent with whether this feature is on or off. I could use conditional formatting so that the color of this icon changes based on whether it's on or off. If I click the color, let's choose the color that I want when it's selected. I want a bright color that matches. So here's a nice bright green. If show ink is true, choose this color, the one that we just picked. Otherwise, make it white. Our pen input is almost finished. We'll use another variable to determine if the ink controls are on or off. In the onSelect property of this settings gear, I use that set function again. This time I'll call this variable showInkTools. And then I'll take the opposite of what showInkTools currently is. So if it's false, it turns it to true. If it's true, it turns it to false. Let's go into the pen input, the show controls property of it. Right now, the controls are shown, but if I set it to show ink tools, it'll correspond to whether this icon is clicked or not. Since I already have a formula that changes the color of this icon, I'll copy it from that and I'll bring it over here. And I'll change the condition so that when show ink tools is on, this icon will turn to that brighter green color, otherwise it'll become white. Let's play it. I'll turn the ink off. If I turn the ink on, I can show or hide the controls here. So our pen input is ready.